You ever wonder why your dog lights up when one specific person walks through the door? Not you, maybe, someone else. And you stand there halfway between amused and wounded. Watching this creature you feed and shelter, choose someone who barely remembers to refill the water bowl. There is something profoundly human about that moment. The recognition that love, even from a dog, operates on frequencies we cannot always control or understand. We tell ourselves it is random, that dogs are simple creatures drawn to whoever tosses the most treats, but you know better. You have felt the weight of being chosen, or the peculiar ache of being passed over, and you understand that something deeper moves beneath the surface of those dark, knowing eyes. Dogs do not choose their favorite person the way we swipe through options on a screen. They choose the way old souls recognize each other in crowded rooms. Through resonance, through an unspoken language that predates words, that lives in the body, in the nervous system, in places psychology is only beginning to map. The science calls it imprinting. During those critical early weeks, between 3 and 12 weeks of age, a puppy's brain becomes a sponge for social information. Whoever shows up consistently during this window, whoever handles them with calm hands and steady energy, gets written into their neural architecture. John Bowlby's attachment theory, originally developed for human children, applies here with eerie precision. Dogs form secure attachments to the people who provide safety, consistency, and attunement during their developmental sensitive periods. But you are not here for the textbook version. You want to know why your dog crosses the room to rest their head on the lap of someone who seems to your eyes entirely unremarkable. Why they wait by the window for that one person, even when surrounded by others who adore them just as much. The answer lives in the realm of energetic matching. Dogs are perhaps the most sophisticated readers of human emotional states that evolution has ever produced. 40,000 years of coexistence has turned them into living barometers for our inner weather. They read cortisol levels in our sweat. They track microexpressions that flash across our faces faster than conscious thought. They sense the electromagnetic field generated by our hearts, which shifts measurably with our emotional states. Your dog gravitates toward the person whose nervous system most closely matches their own natural frequency. If your dog runs hot, anxious, perpetually vigilant, they often bond deepest with the calmest person in the household. Not because opposites attract, but because that person becomes a living anchor, a biological regulator. The parasympathetic nervous system of a calm human can literally entrain the nervous system of an anxious dog, the way one metronome will eventually sync with another placed nearby. This is where it gets dark, in that midnight way that true understanding always does. Your dog might not choose you because you love them most. They choose the person whose emotional signature feels most like survival, most like home. And sometimes home, for a creature shaped by thousands of generations of reading threat and safety, is not the person who coos and cuddles. It is the person who breathes like a shelter in a storm. The research on this phenomenon uses terms like social referencing and emotional contagion. When Emory University researchers put dogs in fMRI machines and exposed them to the sense of different people, the caudate nucleus, the brain region associated with reward and positive expectations, lit up most dramatically for their primary caregiver. But here is what the studies bury in the methodology sections. The caudate response was strongest for whoever the dog associated with the most consistent emotional safety, regardless of who spent the most time with them. This is the part where we must sit with something uncomfortable. Dogs do not love democratically. They love hierarchically, specifically, with the kind of fierce particularity that humans spend entire lifetimes trying to rationalize away. They choose based on who makes them feel most themselves, most regulated, most capable of existing without the constant hum of vigilance that wild things carry in their DNA. You can be the person who feeds them, walks them, pays the vet bills, and still watch them choose someone else. Because love, even dog love, is not a transaction. It is recognition. It is two nervous systems finding compatible frequencies. It is the deep, animal knowing that happens before thought, before gratitude, before any of the stories we tell ourselves about fairness or deserving. There is a particular loneliness to being passed over by a dog, because we tell ourselves dogs are pure, that their love is uncomplicated, that if we just do the right things they will adore us without reservation. But dogs are honest in ways that shatter that fantasy. They show us that even the most loyal creatures on earth make choices based on something we cannot force or manufacture. They hold up a mirror to the parts of ourselves that might be trying too hard, caring too intensely, broadcasting need instead of calm. The positive disintegration theory of Kazimierz Dabrowski speaks of development through crisis, through the breaking down of lower-level responses to make room for higher integration. Maybe being unchosen by a dog is its own kind of disintegration, a forced reckoning with the reality that love requires more than effort. It requires energetic alignment. It requires becoming the kind of person whose inner state radiates safety without trying. Some dogs choose the person who plays with them most, the one who speaks their language of chase and tug and wild abandonment. Some choose the person who understands their boundaries, who never forces affection, who lets them approach on their own terms. Some choose seemingly at random, drawn by factors so subtle that even researchers with clipboards and hypotheses cannot pin them down. But underneath the variables, a pattern emerges. Dogs choose people who feel like peace, like regulation, like the opposite of threat. And if you are not that person, if you are the one left standing while your dog races past you toward someone else, perhaps the lesson is not about the dog at all. Perhaps it is about the frequency you broadcast, the anxiety you carry like a second skin, the hypervigilance that comes from being the one who anticipates every disaster, who plans 3 moves ahead, who cannot quite settle into the present moment because you are too busy managing everyone around you. Dogs do not need managers, they need anchors. And becoming an anchor requires a kind of internal stillness that does not come from doing more, but from being less reactive, less desperate to be chosen, less convinced that love is something you earn through accumulation of the right actions. In the end, dogs teach us what we spend lifetimes avoiding, that we cannot control who chooses us. We can only control the quality of our presence, the steadiness of our inner world, the degree to which we become safe harbors instead of storm-tossed ships looking for port. And maybe that is enough. To know that somewhere, in the vast catalog of human experience, your particular frequency matches some creature perfectly. That you are, to someone, the exact right amount of chaos or calm, intensity or ease. Not chosen for what you do, but for what you are when you stop trying so hard to be chosen at all.